I am going to be talking about Star versus the Forces of Evil and the Queens of Mewni. If you don't know, Star versus the Forces of Evil is a famous Disney cartoon about magic and girl power. Every Queen of Mewni believed she was making the right choice. Every queen believed magic was necessary, and every queen made a decision that pushed the kingdom closer to collapse. This is not a story about bad rulers. It's a story about how magic turned leadership into a weapon. There is one pattern shared by every Queen of Mewni. When faced with fear, conflict, or uncertainty, they chose magic, not because they were cruel, but because magic trained them to believe it was the answer. Over time, queens stopped being leaders who used magic and became tools that served it. Early rulers like Skywynne and Justin lived at a time when magic felt limitless. The wand solved problems quickly, and when power works, reliance follows. The mistake wasn't misuse, it was trust. Magic began shaping expectations. Rulers were no longer meant to negotiate or adapt. Celeria ruled during a time of fear. Conflict with monsters had lasted generations, and patience was gone. Magic offered certainty, permanent solutions. Celeria didn't see herself as violent. She saw herself as decisive. But magic does not understand mercy. It understands execution. In Celeria's reign, leadership crossed the line. Queens were no longer protectors. They were instruments of destruction. Eclipsa inherited a broken system. She questioned why magic demanded enemies. She questioned why monsters were always treated as threats. And for the first time, a queen challenged not the kingdom, but the structure behind it. The response was immediate. Eclipsa was imprisoned. Her husband was erased from history. And her daughter, Meteora, was taken. Meteora's fate reveals the truth about magic's control. The queens who followed were raised inside eye. Festivia and her descendants ruled without knowing the truth of Eclipsa or Meteora. Magic no longer needed brutality. It needed compliance. Over generations, queens learned to fear instability more than injustice, and the wand remained central. Always ready to act when diplomacy failed, Comet believed unity could replace force. But she still ruled within a system built on magic. Her assassination proved a painful truth. Magic can enforce power, but it cannot create peace. Moon understood this better than anyone. Yet she still relied on the wand, because the kingdom had never learned how to exist without it. Star inherited centuries of consequences. She saw the pattern clearly. Magic didn't just respond to conflict, it required it. Queens weren't failing because they were flawed, they were failing because the system demanded sacrifice. By destroying magic, Star did something no queen before her could. She removed the weapon entirely. The Queens of Mewni were powerful, but power without choice becomes function, and function without freedom becomes a weapon. Magic didn't make the queens evil, it made them necessary, and that necessity destroyed the kingdom. Even years later, fans continue to debate Mewni's fate. The ending left questions unanswered about magic, monsters, and coexistence. With continued fan interest and discussion, the story of Mewni may not be finished, and if it ever returns, it won't be about queens or wands, but about a world learning to live without them. Magic created the Queens of Mewni, but it was Star who ended their burden. This was how magic turned rulers into weapons.